LinkedIn as well too. We're going to get after it here in just a little bit. We got a fun show tonight. Fun little Sunday evening show here. Oh man, we got a slow internet connection today, so hold tight. All right, finally, here we go. Hey everybody, I'm Nick Slavik. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It is a weekly live Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, sometimes TikTok show where we talk about coding science, processes, running a business, entrepreneurship, all that fun stuff. The life of a master craftsperson and a business owner. So it's just a great solution to, you're not alone out there, give or take. So tonight is an Ask Me Anything show. I've been accumulating questions throughout the week here. We got a couple queued up for you guys, but any question, any comment you want, I will be patrolling. Excuse me.
I think we got a little, adjust my, there we go. We're a little better here. So we're going to be patrolling Instagram. We're going to be patrolling Facebook for all of your questions here. So if you guys have a question, if you have a topic suggestion, feel free to just drop it in the comments here. We'll get to it. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody for coming to the PCA Expo. We had over 1,000 people there. And I've been doing master classes like crazy. Mike Ruffino from Facebook. I just met you. I just was with you in St. Louis. We've been doing a lot of master class stuff. So I started off the year down in Orlando with some Sherwin-Williams National Sales Meeting stuff. We've done St. Louis. We've done Chicago. We've kind of been all over the place here. So this has been an absolutely awesome time here. Rick Mixell, I love the blanket. Oh, you must be talking about Sig's little point blanket down there. That's a very traditional Canadian point blanket there. It's actually an original one too. It's got somebody's name on it, but keep it in my office, and I let my beloved Brittany Spaniel lay on it. So, all right, a little bit of bookkeeping here, excuse me, house cleaning here, and then we're going to get to all your questions and stuff. So if you guys have any questions or topic suggestions, leave them there in the comments and I will get to them. So just hold tight, everybody. All right, let me make sure. Mute. Tales of the Beard podcast saying he missed the beard. I'm trying to mute myself on here. Just hold tight. Okay, there we go. I'll be patrolling Instagram and Facebook for all your questions here. So thanks for everybody for watching. The PCA, everybody, we had such a good time at the PCA Expo. There were over 1,000 people there. It was the biggest expo in modern history by at least 30%. It was an absolute blowout. The charity event was great, and I absolutely love seeing you guys. The PCA is truly a lighthouse for servant leaders and people who want to do better with their business, for their people, by their people, and just make sure that their little freedom machine is doing exactly what they need it to, buy them time and money freedom. So just thank you guys, everybody. And of course, the PCA is the keeper of the standards. There's painters training. We have PCA Overdrive, which is sort of the Netflix of paint business and paint coating science sort of content. We have events throughout the country here. You can see this is a picture actually from one of the master's classes I did at the Surf Prep facility. So Phil Klein says the best one I've ever been to. That was your first one, Phil Klein. I love it. The little joke there. That's awesome. Also, something near and dear to my heart, guys, is this thing, which is the business training. So if you like anything you hear at Ask a Painter, guys like me and Jason Paris and the rest of our people are devoting our time to make some of the best business training you can get. You're going to get there with a group of cohorts, do it online. We're going to boot camp you into what a true professional painting business is. And it's absolutely awesome. I would urge you guys, if you have friction points in your business, this is the best place to start. It's going to connect you with coaches, with vendors, with software, with everything else that you need to do. And it's going to basically lay a roadmap here. So Phil Klein, when will the videos of the sessions be posted in Overdrive? TBD. We have thousands of hours of footage here. The board and operations need to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to disperse that stuff. So just hang tight. We're going to get that as soon as we can. So Lua Via Gomez, happy Sunday from Santa Rosa. Question, do you know the PCA is providing a sales training? Yeah, so you're going to get a little bit of that in the business training, but I will say this, and I don't think I'm giving away information here because we do talk about this pretty openly in the board meetings and stuff. But as business training is very popular, we're likely going to have hundreds and hundreds of people in that this year. It's likely that we are going to start exploring which we have in the past, and maybe even acting on modules to add on to the business training. So think about estimating, think about project management, think about office coordination, operations management, any of that stuff. So more to follow on that. So Dan Chase. I tell you what, I'm going to get to your question real quick here. Hold tight. I just got to do a little bit of bookkeeping here. I got to share this stream to a quick group, and then we will be ready to rock here. So just hold tight, everybody. And we're going to jump into a bunch of questions and all that other stuff. So, oh yeah, here we go. Thank you for holding tight with me, everybody. Get all your questions and comments ready. And yeah, this is going to be a fun night. I'm going to rapid fire your questions if you guys want. We'll do deep dives if you want. Yeah, this is going to be an absolute blast. So hold tight here. Here we go. Nope, I don't want to hear my voice. All right, there we go. Sorry, just dispersing all of the feeds here and everything. So, all right. Sorry, just making sure we're connected here. Okay. Looking at the live stream on Instagram. Okay. All right, folks. Last little bit of stuff here before we get going. I have master's classes and things coming up here. So Louisville, Kentucky, April 12th. That's going to be an absolute awesome one. Syracuse, New York, 17 May. And for the near future, this is a list of all the Sherwin-Williams ones I have. I think there's going to be some more coming out from some other vendors here, but this is what we have going here. Louisville, Kentucky, 12 April. Syracuse, New York, 17 May. New Hampshire, 24 May. Fort Myers, Florida, 5 June. We have Tom Reber's Mile High Summit, 19 September. I'll be doing some VIP kind of stuff there. That'll be a really fun one. We did actually schedule the Gathering of Minnesota Painters, Sherwin-Williams and Graco event, and some master's classes with me and Jason Paris, 6 December. So that's always my big homecoming one. It's an absolutely awesome time. And then, of course, we have Surf Prep, SoCal. Lake Elsinore, 27 September. So that's going to be an absolute blast. Now, here's the deal. Normal week of work for me. I'm not traveling this week. The week after is spring break for me and the kids. We're going down to Nashville. I'm treating my family to a week at Nashville. The week I get back, we're going to be announcing the summer retreat. So these things have already been scheduled a year and a half in advance. I typically open this up when I'm ready to start accepting applications and things like that. So for the people who have been to the retreat, the retreaters, you know who you are. You know what a good time that is. You know how special that is and how meaningful an event that is. And I do take applications. We only have the room for about 14 to 18 people twice a year. And I only take those who share our core values, have a abundance mindset, and are there to help as much as they are to take in information. So coming soon here, guys, coming soon. Louis Villa Gomez, those trainings you mentioned, do you guys know how we can bring you to the Bay Area? Yes. So if you read the show notes, you see down here, there is in the actual post of this, I give you the email address for Marcia Bass from the PCA. She's the coordinator of the Speakers Bureau, which I am a part of. That contains my master's classes. So if you want a master's class in your area, you raise your hand and we'll see what we can get going for you. So I would absolutely love to come see you down there. That would be fun. Also, there's been a lot of people reaching out to me saying, hey, Nick, I want to get involved. I want to do some stuff. I want to be part of the PCA. It looks so fun. And I'm getting a little FOMO seeing you guys doing all this stuff around the country. Well, here is my mock-up of my board of directors and all the not only governance committees, but operational committees. And I'm slowly filling them out. It started last week making formal requests for people to lead committees. Committees will be in charge of the particular event for that committee. They will be in charge of some education stuff, time and dates of events, things like that. And then we're going to attach an operations staff to them to actually execute the event. So for all you people who have been saying, I want to get involved, hang tight. There's about 55 open spots on this org chart that I'm showing you right here. And I'm making my request as we go down to fill this out and to give you guys a formal way to support the PCA. So really looking forward to doing that with all of you guys. So, all right, let's get into some here. I tell you what, we'll pop up the PCA for now. and then we will get into some questions. I have some ones that people have submitted today and this week. Otherwise, let's see. Kevin Hayes, happy Sunday evening from Mobile, Alabama. Appreciate you very much. Let's see here. Dan Chase, question: in person versus online and text estimates, what do you prefer and why? So I will tell you this: it's not what I prefer; it's what my clients prefer. So, it's been really interesting. So I used to do a ton of online virtual estimates, right? A lot of virtual estimates, to the point where when I was growing the company, I was doing half of the estimates in the company, and half of the jobs that we were completing were actually done virtually, where I hadn't met the client or seen the house. I've seen pictures, obviously. But then COVID hit, and then the craziest data point ever happened, which is nobody wanted nobody wanted a virtual estimate. And it's pretty clear to me now that, in the world where their kids' school turned virtual, their work turned virtual, their online interactions, their retail purchases turned virtual. Their homes became very special to them because this was their fortress. Now this is their safe place, their workplaces, their schools, their everything else. And people put money into their house, and they really wanted that personal experience with color and with that estimate. And nobody wanted a virtual estimate. Nobody wanted a virtual color consult. Sherwin-Williams gives away free virtual color consults to everybody in the nation. And I couldn't give them away during that time because it was such a personal choice that people just had to have it. So my preference always is in person. We have 2 estimators in my company and 1 office coordinator that coordinates their estimate schedules. And I would really prefer to put my 2 beloved estimators in a house. It's some of the best marketing that we can do because they represent the company so well, and they know our systems and processes so well, and they uphold our core values so well. So it's almost a selling point now if I can insert one of my humans into the house. Little bit online or text, things like that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I have really loosened up what my standards on what I will accept as communication. It used to be only through my website and only email. And after about 10 years, I actually got a phone line back in the company. So now we do accept phone calls and things like that, but then we put it through our funnel and put it into our systems and processes. And for the longest time, even with clients, we really tried to force them towards email. The reason we did that, because we wanted a written record of everything that we talked about, all their wishes, all their promises, so they can hold us accountable and we can hold them accountable. And so we've loosened that up, but we have systems around it. So if somebody calls us and talks to an estimator, the standard operating procedure is typically then send that client an email. So there's a written record. Like it's nothing more complicated than, hey, Mrs. Smith, thank you for the call. Here's what we talked about. We'll use this color on this. You also wanted to add a bedroom. Here's the revised estimate. So that when you're reading through the email chain is the single source of truth for all communication for our clients. And if a client texts us, we'll typically text them back, and then we'll email and also say, hey, thank you for the text. Here's what we discussed, things like that. So that if we ever need to figure out what we talked about with a client, we always go to our Gmail account and we always look there. Now it can say, hey, on this day, oh, look at that. I think we did a call that day, or I think we did a text that day. We can go back to that text and reference if we need, but we really try to make it a single source of truth here. So thank you, Dan Chase, for that one. I like that one. Mark Rufino, I love volunteering my time. Thank you so much for sharing. What's a recommendation to get our real numbers? I do have my profit and loss from last year. Do you think I can get that percentage from there, or accounting can help me out? Yeah. So, Mike, here's some things that I want to be very concise about this. So here's the deal. If you own a painting business, there's certain things you just have to solve. You're going to have to find labor, you're going to have to find jobs, and then you're going to have to figure out if you're doing any of it well. And how you find out if you do any of it well is through accounting. Now, I want everybody to think about 2 kinds of accounting, right? All right, let me see what happens when I get rid of this here. All right, I think we'll go to big face for a little bit here. There are two types of accounting that I deal with. There is the accounting and tax accounting, right? The things that happen with your bookkeeper, the profit and loss statement, taxes, things like that. And there's things that happen in your company, managerial. If you rely on your tax accountant or your bookkeeper to tell you if each one of your jobs are profitable, you're going to fail. There's things that you need to do within your company called managerial accounting. And if you are the general manager, the CEO, the operations manager, the owner, the visionary, the integrator, you're going to have to do job costing regularly. Somebody might have to do it for you, but you're going to have to verify it, and then you're going to have to use it for stuff. So, Mike, if you need a job costing template, you can email me, nick@nickslavik.com. I will send you mine. But this is the heartbeat of your company. This is your baseline data. Job costing is nothing more than, we talked about this in St. Louis, job costing is nothing more than tracking material and labor for each job, right? You can wait monthly, you can wait quarterly for your P&L, and it can tell you material and labor, but it's not going to tell you for each individual job, for each individual crew, for which type of clients, for which type of jobs, things like that. So you're going to have to do job costing. This is not something that even with my company, we have a leadership team of 5 people. At times, at the height of the summer, we have 40 human beings, and I still review my job costing. I track down every labor hour, and I track down every gallon of paint every single week without hesitation. And it's a thing that gives me the pulse of the company, and it tells me if we're doing well. It's a thing where, like we talked about in my estimating master's class in St. Louis, based on job costing, we start adjusting prices up and down of our jobs, right? We use it for comp plans, for our bonuses, for our leadership team, our estimators and our project managers. We use it for pay raises with our W-2 employees, things like that. We use it to judge the effectiveness of our trade partners and our subcontractors. So it is, if you don't job cost and you don't look at it, it is only a matter of time before you either fail or your stress becomes so high you leave this industry. So Mike, happy to help with you. I can send you my template. But yeah, it's sorry. That Mike Ruffino, sorry. Louis Villagomez, that was your question right there. I popped into the wrong one right there. So hold tight. Do you have a profit and loss from last year? Can accounting help you? I would not wait for that. So Louis, we've talked before. We saw each other at Expo. I just gave my email address. Get that job costing out, and I will give you the template, and we got to get you going on that, man. You got to do that. It's how you know if your business and your jobs are going well, and you can make micro adjustments before it gets macro like that. So sorry, Mike Ruffino, here's your question. I love volunteering. If I volunteer my time to paint a whole interior for an organization, can this be a tax write-off? So generally, sort of. Right. So let's say you do a $20,000 project for a local charity. You can't just write $20,000 off. My understanding of the federal tax code is that, and you're going to have to get a tax professional, right? So I went to college. I do have a minor in tax accounting. I learned enough to go get somebody to file your taxes because this tax code is infinitely irrational, impossible to understand, and it changes daily, monthly, quarterly, yearly, right? So what my understanding is, you can write off the cost of the labor and the paint, but you can't write off the cost of profit and I don't even think overhead really. So your direct costs, I think you can write off to it. But again, talk to your tax person and they will tell you. But I do know that I used to be like, yeah, we're going to do a $50,000 charity paint job. I'm just going to write the whole thing off. My tax guy's like, well, what was your actual labor and material cost? I think that's the basis of it. I think that's all we can write off. So yeah, one of those things. So Elder Alejandro Alegria, thoughts on selling on the spot or sending an estimate. So you guys know I am a big sell on the spot kind of, sell on the spot is present on the spot. I am a big present on the spot sort of guy. I do not necessarily expect to sell on the spot. Typically, we only sell about 10% of our jobs on the spot or even same week. I mean, we may only sell about 20% of our work the same week. And I don't hold that against our clients. I mean, we're giving them an estimate for what I would consider a lot of money. And if they don't want to talk to their significant other about it and consider, I don't know. I mean, there's some people who just pull the trigger. They know what they want and they're aligned. But yeah, I mean, sometimes, we'll do a $45,000 interior paint job. And I think that should be considered a little bit. I don't want to get into bed with somebody who's not really considered the price of that. So Danielle Severia, Bonoichi, my friend down in Brazil, I might be coming to see you later this year. So TBD. Chris Ricker. Nick, how are you dynamically job costing? Chris, I'm going to need a little bit on there. I would like to know in your mind, what is dynamically job costing? How are you dynamically job costing? I do job cost. I know all the ins and outs of it. I love it more than anything else. I have dove to the depths of job costing. So, muito bom, obrigado, my friend. Thank you so much for that. All right. Mike, you are welcome, my friend. Splash painting, how's it going? Job costing is key. Nick's job costing template is what I contribute to the largest portion of our success. Absolutely. Anybody who uses it. And again, I didn't create job costing. Job costing has been around since commerce, right? Since capitalism. But I did make a pretty easy template, and I do preach it on here because it's literally the thing that turned my life around here. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Tony Joseph, good to hear from you, my friend. Hey, nice. What does the handoff from salesperson to the PM once the project is approved? Ooh, boy, I completely modernized this process for me last year. And then we're going to get to IG, and I'm going to find some comments on there too. So in my company, we have some very distinct handoffs, right? So our office coordinator takes in leads and then schedules them for our two estimators. Okay. And our estimators are in charge of scope and price. So what that means is, what are we painting and what is the price? They're not in charge of color. They're not in charge of paint, any of that other stuff. It's really scope and price, right? When that job is sold, it goes back to our office coordinator, and our office coordinator gets three things from the client. They confirm that scope. We need it in writing. We need to double check that we're painting this. We need colors from that client, and then we need them to sign our contract, right? And once those things are done, and we do not offer them a spot on the schedule until those three things are given us, because we need that incentive hanging over them, that little carrot to give us those three things. Once those three things are done, we hand it off to a project manager, and the project manager in my company is in charge of labor, it's in charge of client, and it's in charge of paint. And then connecting those three things as lovingly, as professionally, and as profitable as possible with a great experience for the client. So the handoff between estimator and project manager is, the estimator is in charge of scope and price. It then goes to scope verification, colors, and contract. And then it goes to labor, paint, and client, which means basically schedule, give or take. So Tony, I hope that helps. But that was a innovation we did this last year, and it was absolutely awesome. Now, when the project is done, so we schedule it, we produce it, we manage it we produce it profitably. When it's done, it goes back to our office coordinator, and then that person will job cost that project. They'll invoice it, and they'll ask for the review as well too. Pedro Delgado, how do I find an estimator? Big question on that one. Number one, make sure your company needs an estimator and can afford it. Number two, you can, I would always prefer that you look within your professional and personal network to find somebody whose core values you know and trust, and then go from there. And then if you can't, go to LinkedIn, go to ZipRecruiter, go to Indeed, and start asking around. One of the greatest things is, if you only need one estimator, you don't need to put an ad out typically for people and then search everybody. You can basically ask around and say, hey, I'm a professional painting company and I need an estimator. Who do you know? Who do you think would be good for that sort of thing? And things like that. And you can find it. So, but Pedro, I would first say, make sure your company needs it. If estimating is something where you just get burdened down by it, or there's too much of it, or you're not good at it, or it takes you too long, hiring it out doesn't always solve it. You still have to manage that process, because if things go south, not only do you have to fix that thing, you also have to manage the person who's not solving it for you, which makes it even worse. So, Burgess, what's up, my friend, fellow veteran and paint business owner. Veteran Service Brand had their big get together earlier in the year, and I was lucky enough to go down there for that. Top 3 lead sources, paid lead sources for first quarter 2024. Okay, so I'm just putting this stuff together because quarter isn't done, but I've been watching January, I've been watching February. Here's the deal: you have to put a little asterisk at the end of this, which is, what do you put your money into, right? So magically, if I dumped all my money into magazines in my local area, I would report to you that magazines are doing great for me. But if you haven't done any intentional effort for anything else, you need to put an asterisk next to that and say, if you put a bunch of money into magazines worked out for Nick. But here's the deal. Paid is direct mail. Number one is direct mail, probably by about 3x, give or take. But again, we put a lot of money into it. We put a lot of effort into it. It's been a multi-year process. I work that thing like it's in my damn business plan, right? It's a pretty tightly controlled process where I manage the entire thing and I have people execute for me. I don't hire people to tell me what to do and where to do it. I figure that out, and then I just have people execute for me. And then it's going to be social media. But asterisk, the top two places that I put money into over the last 6 months, and especially January, February, March, are direct mail and social media. So one of those things. Now, the things that I don't put a lot of money into that happen to be good lead sources generally are vans, yard signs. Word of mouth repeat referral is always on there, but again, that's not a paid lead source like you were asking for. So I hope that helps. Burgess, love your analytical mind, my friend. Chris Ricker. Okay, back to the dynamic job costing. Are you job costing daily and weekly? I job cost weekly. So my office coordinator does all the job costing, and then I verify. I trust but verify. And I think Splash Painting, thank you, answered. Better question. How often do you run, execute your job costing template? Daily, weekly, real time? Yeah. So it's basically, here's our rhythm. We found that just doing it after every job isn't a great, some jobs can fall through the cracks. So what we do is the Monday morning routine in my company is that me and my two project managers, because I put on my operations manager hat, and I go to my two project managers and we go down and we make a shop plan Monday morning. Actually, every day at 7 a.m., we meet with the people who are working in the shop that day. We make a shop plan. At about 7:20, 7:30, whenever the shop plan is done, we actually go through all the time punches from the previous day or 2 days and verify that they got allocated correctly and were punched in and punched out correctly, because it deals with people's pay and comp. And I am very serious about that sort of thing. So daily, we make sure we verify every single punch in and punch out in the company and that it was allocated correctly. And then on Mondays after that, the two project managers and I go down the list of, we go down the entire schedule from last week and we make a list of all the jobs that were complete that we're going to ask reviews to. We put that in an email, we send it to our office coordinator, and in 24 hours, typically, that office coordinator has all those jobs job costed. And then I personally go through every single job with them once a week on a Tuesday, give or take. That's typically my my rhythm. Oh, David Delgado, how are you, my friend? What's the closing rate for salesmen or estimators nationwide? So that really depends by company size. Smaller company, let's say you're a single owner operator, I could make the argument that you should be closing 20% of your jobs or 80% of your jobs. And the argument for that would be, typically you work for family, you work for friends, you work for people in your network. And then we're going to get to some IG ones here. And basically it's all word of mouth. So typically you don't have enough capacity. You don't need that much work. So you only need to close 20%. Or everybody you know is family and friends and comes from your network. And it's basically a done deal and you close 80%. Based on your profitability and your schedule, if it's full or not, I could tell you whether 20 or 80 is good. Now, once you get past $1 million, $1.5 million plus, I really like that 45 to 50%. It's not a perfect number, right? There's many companies that close at 65, 70% and are world-class. There's many companies that close at 37% and they're world-class. It has everything to do with the average job size that you're selling. So the thinking is you could take your SR, your success ratio, up, and your average job size could go down and sell the same as somebody who has a larger average job size and a lower success ratio, right? That's always a possibility as well too. So what I like to see, if a company came to me and said, "Hey, Nick, my guys are closing at 49%. We're about a $2 million company. What do you think about that?" I'll say, "Listen, I got a bunch of questions for you, but overall, that doesn't alarm me." If you said you're a $5 million company and you're closing at 91% of your jobs, I would say, "I think I have a few questions for you because I want to make sure, like, I think you might be calculating that differently than everybody else." But magically, you'll find that large professional companies typically close at about 50%, give or take. And what's even more important about that is, we talked about this at all my estimating master's classes, which is, I'm a firm believer. Micah Stelter told me this. That is Olive Holdings and Paris Paintings. They're a 10, 11, $12 million painting company. He's the VP of sales. He trains all their estimators. He told me many, many years ago that a third of the people will always buy from you. A third of the people will never buy from you. And a third of the people might be swayed, at least in our industry at this time. And I can't prove it's true. I can't prove it's not true. All I know is that if we go forth and we think about how we estimate, who we estimate for, how we plan our days, the number of estimates we want to do per week, the revenue goals, that is a very helpful guide. Knowing that, I think it's a good way to humble yourself and say, we think we're so slick. We think we're so awesome at this. We think if we have the perfect price, everybody will buy from us and we'll be the most profitable company on earth. You're dealing with feral cats, right? In the most kind way possible. Clients, you don't know if they're going to buy or not. You don't know what their budget is. You don't know how serious they are. You don't know if they're just fishing. If we're giving away a free estimate, people will take a free estimate and they may not be serious, right? That doesn't make them good or bad. It just, the thing that I always tell myself is, no matter how good you think you are, and how good your estimators think you are, you control this process less than you think, because everybody decides whether to paint their house or not based on their own standards, give or take. So, all right, we'll go through a couple more here and then we'll Tony Joseph, thank you very much. Sounds similar to what you're doing. Love that. David, do you make sure you have an SOP for your salesperson or estimator? Oh, wait a second. That question just got cut off a little bit there. Make sure you have an SOP for your salesperson or estimator. So you put a question mark on that. So I think I'm going to take that as a question, which is, you know what I'm going to say? Absolutely. We actually have, we have a definite SOP for our people. Let me pull that up for you. Because we have supercomputers at our hands, I'm going to just pull it up and I will show you guys what we do here. I'm going to pull it up. All right. Yeah. SOP checklist. So, the thing is, if you want to train somebody how to do this and you want to hold somebody accountable to it, you have to have something that you can both look to and say, this is the process. And you can't just do it from committing it to memory, right? And so I've trained 2 estimators, right? And I'm 2 for 2. I've only had 2 estimators. They're still with me. They're awesome people. When I had to train them to estimate my way, initially when the numbers were off, there's obviously grace in the new process. But what I found is that this SOP is so good for my company. It's so exact to what we do. If the numbers were off, we could actually go through this list starting at 1, going down to 7 or 8, and then physically pick out, say, okay, did you do this? Did you do this? Tell me more about this. When the numbers were off or something wasn't happening like it should, we could actually go back and find 1 or 2 things that they either didn't do 100% or didn't do it all. And it doesn't mean they're bad people. It just means that they were learning the process. But an SOP like this is perfect, because if something is not working right, instead of where can we possibly work? I need to give them training, but I don't know what to do. You can actually go to this and say, let's just start at the top and let's just go top to bottom and see what is being done, right? So yeah, we'll do that. Let's see here. Burgess, you're welcome, my friend. Oscar Balan just hired our first PM last week. Any tips on how to efficiently delegate to PMs systems? All right, so here's the deal. I would urge you to go back to my show I just did a couple weeks ago on micromanagement. And what it's really about is situational leadership and taking people in the 4 boxes of management, which is number 1, you're basically doing it for them, with them, by them, everything else. And the 4th box is pure delegation. I need you to go out there and estimate and bring back this much stuff, but you have to bring them back through the 4 things. And typically what we do, now think about this, Oscar. I would do a 3-week process. This is my preferred way, which is the first week you're estimating for them and they're watching and you're asking for feedback. You're asking questions. You're showing them the SOP and you're just showing them examples of what to do. And in my company, we can get 18 to 25 estimates a week. And that's a lot of good data points. Week number 2, I typically have them estimate, but I'm there basically partnering with them, filling in the blanks, talking with them. It's shoulder to shoulder estimating, but they're kind of taking the lead. Week 3, I would have them do all the estimates and then you give them feedback after each one like that. So it's kind of a crawl, walk, run sort of situation. And especially systems like that, they have to have a system, right? PM. So sorry, I was talking about estimators, but same thing. You manage projects for them, by them the first week. You let them manage some projects with your support the next week. You let them manage the projects the third week, but you're there observing, giving them feedback all the while. And systems as well too. They got to have an SOP. They got to have something written down. They got to have some deep training, and you have to show them a lot of examples, and you have to carefully take them from S1, S2, S3, S4. Those are those 4 boxes of situational leadership. And the one thing that our industry is bad at is literally we hire somebody because we don't want to do a job. We tell them to do it and we hope it gets solved. That never works. It never works. And if it does work, it only works for a little while. Then it doesn't work at all because people need support. So what you need to do, I mean, this could take literally a initial training could be 3 weeks. It could be 6 months, give or take, depending on the human. But then the most important thing, Oscar, I can tell you from turning myself into a professional manager is that you need to have a weekly one-on-one rhythm to constantly keep coaching your people like that on the leadership team. Painters, I do, we stay in a lot of contact, tons and tons of messages every day, but quarterly, I meet with each one of them and give them that feedback. With my leadership team, it's weekly because it's such a dynamic role and there's so much put on their shoulders, so much stress, so much stuff to do. The success of the company is really directed by those people who lead the way with that charge. So it's very important to have a weekly meeting rhythm where you talk about the numbers, you talk about their feelings, you give them support, you give them empathy, you hold the standards, all that other stuff. So, all right, Chris Ricker, you are welcome. Louis Villa Gomez, what is your recommendation for any software to do an estimates like Estimate Rocket or any of the other ones around? So here's the deal. I currently use all my G Sheets. I'll likely be moving to something later this year, but I will tell you this, Estimate Rocket, Drip Job, Paint Scout, PEP, you pick one. They're all great pieces of software. The one that you fully adopt, that you champion, that you comply with, and that you stick with is going to be the one that works for you. They all do a lot of great things together. I would look for a company that gives you that good product, but gives you good support, and you hope will be around for a very long time here. So, oh man, send me your SOP. All right, here's the deal, man. You know, you got my email address, nick@nickslavik.com. You email me and I will respond to it with that. Elder, any recommendations on a CRM? So here's the deal. CRMs are kind of the hottest topic in the industry right now. A CRM is a customer relationship management thing. Really, a CRM is nothing more than marketing, leads, estimate, completed jobs, and the gathering of the information there. A CRM is not an estimating program. A CRM is not a project management program, right? A customer relationship management program is basically the way I see it and the way the rest of the business world sees it is you have marketing out there that turns into leads turn into estimates turn into sold jobs. And then there's a whole bunch of client information and data and prices and everything there. The management and the querying of that is the big thing. You have to be very clear. When somebody says, I need a recommendation for a CRM, you always have to ask, what is the problem you're trying to solve? If you have a problem coming up with a price for an estimate, that's not a CRM's thing, right? If you need automation to follow up with estimates from clients with estimates, if you need a way to track your marketing, your leads, your estimates, your cost of all those things, cost of jobs, things like that, the way of tracking clients' information so you can market back to them, or querying all the decks you did 3 years ago in a particular finish and then categorizing by profitability. That's what a CRM does. It manages the customer relationships, right? It doesn't tell you what to charge, and it doesn't manage jobs for you. It doesn't typically job cost, and it doesn't even market for you. It just gives you the information you need to market. So hope that helps. Chris Ricker, hashtag you rock. You're awesome. Thank you for that. Oh boy. Splash, what software might you be moving to later this year? I feel like you aren't going to say no. So here's the deal. I do all my research, and we're to the point where I've created everything in my business in Google. And you realize we're growing to the point again where we need to have something that takes the human intuition and recall and memory and effort out of it and does some gates and lanes and some single source of truth and some automation in there too. So more to follow. I'll always share, guys. But here's the deal, right now, and I do want to couch this. We'll probably talk about this later this year, but I want to tell you this right now. Listen, right now, I don't currently use drip jobs. It's one of the ones I'm looking into. This happens to be just one of the more comfortable shirts I have. But if you know a guy like Tanner, you know drip jobs. If you know the Drost and you know Estimate Rocket, if you know John Bryant and you know Paint Scout, these are world-class humans that give you a world-class product. And literally, if you champion and actually comply with any one of these, they're all going to do it for you. I would just say it's one of those things where find something that will work for you. They're all going to work for you, but find a person you connect with, find a company whose ethos you connect with, test drive the thing and just try it out. You can always try another one. You can always change later. Just one thing I have to tell myself about software selection is don't be so precious. They're all going to work for you. Just make a quick choice, make a good choice, and then comply with the living hell out of it to get there. So, Dylan Maines. Don't do this. I don't know who Dylan Maines is. He's offering a promo code through there through me. I don't know who this is. I don't know what that software is. Don't do this. Don't do that. And Dylan, you should talk to me before you do this. This is bad core value kind of stuff on Ask a Painter. So yeah, give him a little thumbs down. Give him a little what for here. That's not what we do with Ask a Painter here. So all right, Splash Painting. Honestly, if you're using an estimating program to get off pen and paper, you can't go wrong with any of the big ones. Yep, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. It's an absolutely wonderful thing. So, all right, everybody, here we go. Let's go through some IG and let's look for some questions here. Hey, everybody. Tales from the Beard podcast, my friend. How are you? Good to see you. Sorry, just scrolling through here. Man, thanks for everybody watching tonight. Lots and lots of people here. Sam, appreciate the kind words there. All right, let's see. I'm going to go to some of the stock questions I have. Not stock questions, questions that have been submitted today and earlier in the week. So hang tight. Let's get to Rick Mixell. Maybe the benefits of collaborating with other businesses. I asked for some questions here. These were a couple. Like I tried to keep at least 3 contacts for each trades so I can refer a team when I need to. I was scared of this at first, but it's amazing for those who circle. We even share employees sometimes. Twice this past week, we got 2 projects from a guy who used to paint with us. That comment went long, but a fun topic. Yeah. So here's the deal. Dylan Means. Sorry, did I say Dylan Rands? Dylan, no bueno, my friend. Don't be hammering promo codes here. I don't do that kind of stuff. So, all right. Uh, Rick Mixell, collaborating with other people. Here's the deal, folks. This has changed my life. I mean, do it, do more of it. Our whole industry needs to do more of it, and it will absolutely change your life. I can't oversell that right there. Um, I am who I am. I am where I am. I think the way I think, and I act the way that I act, largely because of the amazing human beings that I've come into contact with through the PCA in this industry. And I will tell you this, you're gonna run into probably pushback, not through, like the PCA. If you go to the PCA, you're gonna find a whole bunch of servant leaders. It's like a weird clearinghouse for people who don't believe that there's a lot of competition out there. So, what I will say is, you saw my events here like this. I'm literally going around giving templates for my own business. I'm not a coach. I don't have software to sell. I got nothing to sell people, right? I love talking about this. I do Ask a Painter so I can connect with you guys, right? So that when I have a question, like I see on Instagram, my friend from Big League Painting in Chicago, 2 young hotshots in the industry. We exchange a lot of data. I give them a lot of templates. We talk back and forth. They're asking questions here. I do this so I can meet people like that so I can get inspired. It's a big part about what I do. It's not always been my life, right? I used to think that every one of you was the enemy here, right? And that is not the case. And I'm grateful for all the connections. Please get involved. Even local painters here, like the painter who is mentioned the most in my own hometown is the one that I am one of the closest people to in the industry, Rob Lenzen, right? He's become a very close friend. We go to all the retreats together. We see each other all the time. Last summer, we were doing 2 jobs. I was doing that crazy brewery, and he was doing the high school in town. We actually both bid that high school. I lost it to him, but still, I went over there and I was like, Rob, this is great. I'm glad it came to good hands. I'm glad you took care of it. And I actually went back to the high school a couple months ago, and he had done a bunch of prepping, priming, and painting of tile, which is a very difficult thing, especially in a school. The stuff looked amazing. Rob took great care of them. So it's one of those things where I'm so glad that our area is being serviced by professional people, and these professional people are my friends. It's an amazing thing. So, Big League Painting from Instagram. Big fan of you guys there. Do you raise pricing going into quarter two? So here's the deal. We do about 2 intentional price increases every year. I typically do one at the start of every year because I like nice clean books. And then typically what I'll do is when we raise the prices, we'll typically do a interior price raise. I have 2 price levels of interior and exterior that we keep. I use the winter to look over the exterior prices. It really doesn't need to be changed that much. We don't do the exterior estimate in the winter. So it's not like we need to stay on top of that right away. But what we do is typically at the first of the year, we'll do an interior one, and typically go into next winter. So we're talking probably September. We'll probably do another interior price increase. Um, we'll do a typically first of the year or typically end of February, early March exterior price increase. And here's the deal: just because I say we raise them 2 to 4 times a year, doesn't mean they're crazy increases. I would rather do little micro increases over here, so you can't feel the water boiling, the frog in the pot, right? I don't like to do this thing where we go 3 years and then we add 40% to jobs like that because we have a lot of previous clients and stuff. And I would really rather have that, somewhere between 5 and 20% increase per year depending on the job to keep up with not only inflation, the market price, and the cost of materials and all that other stuff. So, but we do this very scientific. I do it based on job costing, success ratio, average job size, what we're really good at, what we're not really good at, cost of lead, the cost of estimate, the cost of job, all that stuff. And anybody who's been to my estimating and marketing master's classes knows exactly how I do that. And it's not hard to do. You just have to do it. So, all right. Oh, sorry. People are asking me to stay close to the microphone. Sorry, guys. I will keep that close. Not a problem. Let's go back to some Facebook questions here. Uh, Nick, what are you looking for when considering paint software? So here's the deal. I think about painting software as there are things that are called enterprise software where you sign up for and it'll take care of everything from marketing and lead to invoice job and even do internal stuff like that. Most people are big for enterprise software. Like, if you sign up for like, Microsoft and you're Sherwin-Williams, they will have enterprise software to handle every single thing in your business. So it's all single source of truth, right? But when you think about a painting business, you want to be careful where you input stuff. The way I think about the big chunks of software are there's a what I will call a pipeline. There's actually a company called Pipeline, but it's actually a pipeline where you have marketing, you have leads, you have estimates, and you have sales, right? So you have that CRM basically on the front end. You have an estimating software in the middle. You have a project management software in the middle, and then you possibly have some back end stuff, give or take. You have QuickBooks, you have Slack that you bolt on in there. So it's, you gotta think about this as like a hot rod or a custom car. Where what do you want it to do? Do you want to get good gas mileage and reliability? Do you want it to be a hot rod? But you got to think about those chunks. There are a lot of softwares that will bridge multiple of those, right? And I would say if you're a small business, if you're doing 300, 500, 600K, honestly, you could do a lot worse than things like Grip Jobs and other companies like that, where it takes care of as much of that as possible. But here's the thing that I do know, and software companies will even tell you this to your face, which is it's not going to do some things you want to. There's not a piece of software that is going to be perfect for your company. Only Jason Paris has that. He made his own custom software, right? Here's the deal. There's gonna be many things you want it to do that it's not gonna do, that you're just gonna have to supplement, maybe even job costing, right? There's gonna be so many things that this software does that are either too much for you, not important to you, or not needed by you, right? The software that works is the one that has robust service, has longevity, it's simple, it's a single source of truth. Did I say good support already? Probably good support, and you have to champion it inside your company. You have to take the training. You have to be the one to make sure everybody complies with it. You have to check daily, hourly, weekly, monthly, quarterly to make sure everybody's complying with it. You have to be the owner and operator and champion of that software in your company in order to make it look good here. So, all right. Bill Holland, thank you for repeating what seems so easy for you. I have recently built a job costing sheet. Your inspiration has helped me understand all this data. Do you look at building these spreadsheets like work? Don't let perfection stand in the way of really good. Oh, dude, you are reading my mind. So here's the greatest thing ever. Um, Job costing. I talked with Chris Moore, and he pulled a quote out of there. That's probably one of the more famous quotes that's on the internet from me, which is job costing will lead you down a path of all the questions that will lead you to success, give or take. It was something like that, right? And I started job costing was simple. You calculate the cost of paint and you calculate the cost of labor. And initially I did it wrong, which is I didn't have all the tax and the paint care and all the other stuff, delivery fees with paint. Then you have to add that in later on. You realize that. And when I calculated wages, all I did was $31 an hour times how many hours, but I didn't take into account any insurances, any benefits, any burden, things like that. So eventually you run into these things, you run into enough people where they say, oh no, you need the total cost of paint. So you need like bring up 1 gallon of duration, Matt, whatever's on the bottom of that invoice, not your cost per gallon. It's got to be taxes and paint care and recycling fees. And if there's delivery and all that other stuff, but there's a price difference between a single gallon and a 5 gallon. You need to track all that. Same thing with labor, which is if people don't track labor burden can be 25% added on to labor as the cost of employing a human. So think about all the taxes that you pay for them. One of the benefits of being an employee is that you owe taxes to the government, and we'll call that 100. 50% of that is paid by you, 50% of that is paid by their employer. One of the benefits of being an employee, right? So if you don't account for that, you could be 25% off on your labor and me making a whole bunch of bad decisions. So not let perfect stand in the way of really, really good. And it probably took me about 2 years to really perfect my job costing system. And there's always give and takes, puts and takes in there as well. Like I don't there's a little bit of grace in mine because we don't calculate overtime. As I'm trying to incentivize my people to work a lot of hours so they can get more payments on houses, feather their nests. And also, we're production constrained. So what I do, I make an offer to my project managers because they're bonused on this, estimators too, is that listen, if you can get people to work 50 hours a week, we're going to pay them for the 50 hours, and we'll pay them overtime, everything over 40. But on the job costing, we won't calculate that overtime because it doesn't really happen all that much, not as much as I'd want to. Um, and also, I'm just trying to say it's really an incentive for you guys, for my painters to do that because their budgets look better, and then for my leadership team to get out there and do it. So yeah, one of those things. Audio is breaking. Uh-oh. Poor audio, poor audio. Thank you so much. Fantastic wisdom. Please say hello to my man. Da-da-ba-da-da-da. Thank you. All right. Hey guys, is audio better right now? I want to just take a look. How do you home estimates? Oh, we'll get to this stuff, man. Good Sunday, amigo. Uh, IG, it's back 90%. God dang it. All right. We'll get this figured out, everybody. Um, yeah, just keep it monitored here. So I think what might be happening is just internet connection low because I got this great road and it should be okay. All right. Omero, fellow Minnesota painter. Nick, I've been working this year on presenting my price in person. Any tips that you can help me when you started? Yeah. So getting all your pricing set so that you're not doing a lot of measuring and figuring when you're on site. Have all your templates ready. Have all your templates filled out. So basically, all you have to do, like my estimators, if they have 6 estimates in a day, they have every estimate template filled out with all the stuff. We have multiple templates too. We have one for like a wall job, a trim job, a cabinet job, a deck job, an exterior things all kind of ready to go with all the wording already spelled out, and then we basically just act on that. So as quickly as we can, get in there, input the specific information for that job, the numbers, and then in and out. So again, you have your standard operating procedure, have your process for getting them all ready in the morning, be prompt, and have I don't want to say have a script because that seems impersonal, but in my company there are missions on estimates, which is I want to describe the process simply. I want to describe our promise, and sometimes it comes up organically at the start, but if it doesn't, I want my guys to hit those things before they leave. So what you have to be really careful of is here's a 2-page document. I need to physically stand in front of you, client, and read that. And that doesn't build trust, right? But what you have to do is you say, there's 2 things that I really need to get across to this client. It might come up early, and I'm definitely going to trigger those if it does. But if it doesn't, I'm definitely going to say, oh, and by the way, here's things that you need to know about this. And we'll say it before we leave. So just knowing you have a mission, a non-open ended thing. Also, guiding the client with a firm hand, right? You are the expert and position yourself as the guide and not the hero in the process, which is let a client talk, listen to them, but also guiding the conversation will keep those estimates from 3 hours down to about an hour, give or take. So, one good example is even when you knock on the door, and this is my preferred way to do it. Knock on the door, and client will say, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" It's like, "Yeah, hey, I'm Nick. We set the appointment up here. It sounds like you have a cabinet job to do." And while I'm taking my shoes off, they start talking. Yeah, so we're thinking about painting our cabinets, and typically they go right to the colors. Like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" I'll say, well, "Here's my process. All right, I'm going to get a little bit of information from you. I'm going to gather some images. And I'm going to take some notes." And then I'm going to go back out to my van and I'm going to come back in and present an estimate. So, number one, let's go to the kitchen. Let's look at your cabinets. Let me grab um, some images of that. I'm going to ask you some questions about the cabinets, right? And so instead of just letting them talk endlessly about that stuff, which I don't want to sound impersonal, but you're there to guide them along the process. And if you don't have to go on your script, but you can frame the conversation, which is, here's what I'm here to do. You told me about a cabinet job. Let's go look at the cabinets. Let me take a few images and notes first, and then we'll see if you have any questions. I know I'll have questions for you. And that gives you that 2 minutes to write some notes down, take a few images, and then start leading them down the way. Do you want the interiors done? Are you thinking about replacing your doors? One color or two color? Are you doing anything else around the house? We have a pantry door, we have a window, we have baseboards. You want to do the living room next, things like that. But guide them. Don't be the hero. Don't say, "Listen, client, here's the deal. You're standing in the way of me in a sale, so I need to say all these things and give you a price. So just shh, like that. Don't do that. You are the guide, right? You know that, Omero, but yeah, just getting those repetitions in. So, Chris Ricker, thank you so much, Luis. Please say hello to my dad. He's here from Mexico. He's watching now. Hey, Papa Villa Gomez. Thanks for watching, my friend. On a Sunday night, that you're giving up some family time means a lot to me. So I hope you're having a good family time, and yeah, I hope this works out for you guys too. This is awesome. I love spending time, a little bit of that here. So okay, splash painting. Can you go quick into your pay structure? I don't need specific dollar amounts, but how do you structure it? I hear you mentioned previously, and I believe it's similar to ours. So, Splash, tell me, painters, estimators, project managers, what do you need to know? Omero, you're the best, man. Appreciate you always. We'll see you around Minnesota as well too here. So, Tony Ekman looks like sounds really good here. Chris Rivera, thank you for what do you charge for X template? Rise a pint for Ask a Painter. I will do that right now, my friend. I'm enjoying a delicious double IPA on a beautiful Sunday here. Temporarily out from my family, but back in it for a little bit here. So, all right, Yeeman Painting from IG. If you've had a referral-based business and never advertised, where would be a good avenue to generate new leads? Thank you, Yeeman. If you gave me the challenge of needing work next week, I would open up my phone and call friends, call families, call neighbors, call connections, call people from community groups, church groups, everything else, and ask for estimates, but not jobs. Right? That's how it goes. Um, a more long-term approach to that, um, there's you can solve this with time, with money, or with both. I would urge you to first try to solve it with time, because if you're asking for leads, it probably means you have gaps in the schedule, which means you have probably more time than money. That's how I think about these problems. So it could be as simple as, like, in my municipality here, for $25, I can get a peddler's permit or a solicitor's permit. The police station will actually do a background check on you, and the city government will issue a badge, like a lanyard around your neck with an official nameplate on it that says you are legally allowed to go from door to door and sell your wares in this town, because we have background checked you and we've permitted it. And I would print out door hangers, print out flyers, other things like that. And I would go door to door, knock on doors, and ask for estimates and not jobs. There's a way you can show up and say, "Hey, listen, I'm a painter. I would love to do a paint job for you." Or you could say, "Hey, listen, I'm a new company. We have gaps in our schedule right now. I would love to help you with an estimate. Do you have anything you want estimated? I don't charge for any estimates. Would you like an estimate?" And that's a completely different sort of situation, than just saying, "I need a paint job to feed my family. What are you going to pay me to paint?" That's a little direct, right? And if you're in Minnesota, a lot of people would be really sort of like, off put by that. So, yeah, that's fun though. But I would start with that stuff. If you do not have a social media presence and you don't post multiple times daily and you don't have a website and you're not active on it, updating it, do all that stuff first, right? The last thing you should do is hire a marketing company if you don't have any of that stuff. Marketing companies can help you, but if you don't have any of that stuff, all they're going to do is tell you to do that stuff too. So that's sort of the thing there. Oh, we got a good one here. White oak painting. White oak is also my favorite wood species and tree as well too. My that table is made out of white oak. Almost all this antique furniture here is white oak. My rocking chair is white oak, and yeah, this beautiful stand-up desk is white oak that I'm on right now that I built myself. Um, so white oak. What's the approximate time it should take to properly train a new painter for basic interior repaints? I love how you worded it. That is perfect. What What's a tough question to answer is, how soon can somebody be? Well, that's tough, right? What do you do? But for basic interior repaints, the standard in my company is you need to paint standard bedroom in 4 hours or less. Prep, 2 coats of paint, and de-prep, with no callbacks, give or take. That's in 3 months of having never been in the trades before. And We have a very good onboarding program. We have a very good training program. We have a very good apprenticeship program. We've got a very good mentorship program, accountability, support, empathy structure, all that other stuff. And I think only one person in the 16-year history of this company has not tested out of that. So that tells you how able that humans are to do this. So here's the deal. I would like them to generally function with support as a wall painter and do some cabinet prep and things like that. At 6 months, I would like them to really understand the use of a paint sprayer, but maybe not be a perfect sprayer. At 9 months, I would want them to do a trim or a cabinet job, small by themselves, start to finish, budget and no callbacks. And then at 12 months, I would like them to do everything we do, at least at budget or under, with no callbacks, and then take an apprentice on too. And all my people are infinitely capable of that, whether they know it or not. And we really do push them for that because I know we can rocket them through our pay structure and stuff, and that's a great thing. So, yeah, thank you guys for that. I love these questions. By the way, we still haven't got to the rest of my questions there. So, oh man, here we go. Splash painting. When hiring production workers, you have a specific pay structure, I believe. Even I saw a spreadsheet with mile markers requirements. How do you determine raises? That's it. Okay, so I just answered that from Instagram. I rate my people on two things: attendance and job performance. And what people often ask is, well, what about core values? What if you're a good person or not? You know what's funny? Everybody who meets the attendance requirements and job budget requirements are great people, magically. And there's very few people who do both of those things really well and do not share our core values and are bad people and get fired, right? So it's a weird sort of like those two things are great data-based indicators of the quality of humans there. And what I like about it too is that for the good of my people, their pay is not based on my feelings, it's based on their data. Their attendance is their data. That is not me. That is not if their boss once a year you sit down with a boss and he had a bad day or a bad year, so he's not going to give you any pay raise. That's not up to me. The pay raises are not up to me. I just report them. They're my direct reports. I don't report them, but it's their attendance and job performance. It is not my feelings at all. So I think that's what's great. So I give my people the opportunity for four $1 an hour raises a year if they work 40 hours a week and get 75% of their jobs producing at $70 an hour, give or take. Oh man, I appreciate you so much. That's an awesome thing. Thank you for that so much. You know, I appreciate you. I always love hanging out with you at Expo and stuff too. So love the distinction between on-site versus selling on-site. That's exactly it. Is your 4-hour bedroom walls one person? Yes, it is one. It's 4 labor hours. So if you have two people in there, it has to be done in 2 hours. One person, 4 hours, right? Four people, 1 hour, which is not going to happen. So, yeah, let's go back to IG here. Da, 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 da. Oh, here we go. Paintastic art painters on IG. Do you look for charity jobs? Yes, I do. How do you find them? How do they help your business? It looks like I have a lot. I have time to do some charity, market price standards for good, me sometimes. Okay, so charity, it's a big part of what we do as a business. I get involved nationally, and very locally also. My own painting business, we probably do about $50,000 worth of, charity a year, give or take. For PCA National, we do a few $100,000 worth of charity a year for those big things like that. Number 1, this is real easy. It's not hard to find somebody that will accept your free paint work. The thing for me is that, like, I don't give discounts to individual homeowners. Um, for many reasons, that kinda takes people by surprise, like, I am a veteran, right? And when somebody comes and says, "Hey, Nick, I'm a member of, the VFW with you. They're down there. You give a veterans discount?" I go, "No, I don't." And they're kinda taken aback by that, and it's like, "Well, here's the deal. You're able to pay, and you're asking for a voluntary paint job, right? I would love to give everybody a discount, but I'm a veteran too. Can I charge you 15% more because 'cause I'm a veteran? That doesn't seem fair, right? So just because you're a veteran, just because you're a first responder, just because you're something like that, I'll give a discount because I want pricing to be stable from all my clients. What I will do in the end is I will go down to my local VFW and I will give them $18,000 for the painting at the end of the year to completely redo their club room, right? To me, that's more impactful than giving one person, which doesn't affect other veterans, a discount. I would love to give everybody a discount, right? The problem is it is not easy to make money in any business, right? Only 7% of all businesses in the United States generate over $1 million of revenue a year because it's freaking hard. Everything has to go right. Everything has to go right consistently. You can't have a bad day. You can't have a sick day. If you have a sick day, you still have to perform. It has to go on forever. There's ultimate accountability. Whether you have money or not, payroll has to be met. And so when somebody asks me, "Can I get a discount?" It's like, I would love to do that. Problem is, my life is gonna be infinitely harder then to do this. The average paint business runs on about a 10 to 15% net profit at the end of the year, which means if everything goes right, you're gonna keep 10 to 15% net of what your company does for revenue if everything goes right all the time. What's the average discount we give people? 10 to 15. If our company generates a 15% net revenue at the end of the year, and I give away a whole bunch of 15% discount jobs, those jobs are legally nonprofit. I'm a nonprofit business on those things. I'm giving away all the benefit of running this business. All my people will get paid. All my suppliers will get paid the normal rate. It's just one person in the end who doesn't get paid. So you got to be very careful with that. Now, there are times where I will say there's um, a beautiful charity. We did a brand new building for them, a portion of it there. I will absolutely give away large chunks of money for charities, for things that really touch my heart, that connect with me, that I like the people. We have the Duck Cup Memorial in town here. A classmate of mine committed suicide, and a bunch of my classmates got together and started a charity for suicide awareness and mental health. And it's the greatest charity I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing, amazing cause. My company breaks themselves every year between donations throughout the year, painting projects if we can, their golf tournaments, every well, we painted their office this last year as well too. Anything we can do for that, that's how I find them. I find people that are near and dear to my heart. I don't take into account the benefit of the business, but we all understand that being a good member of the community is a huge benefit of the business that you can't buy marketing for. When people see that you're standing shoulder to shoulder with citizens in the community, taking care of your people without asking anything in return, true charity, altruism is doing for others and without an expectation of return. And I think that's a big part of it, which is if you're gonna do charity, don't do it as a marketing thing. If you're gonna do charity, do it as charity, and guess what? Karma, kismet, whatever you believe in, golden rule stuff, it'll all come back to you. It absolutely will. So, all right. Ramirez painting, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Oh, let's see here. Ba, 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 ba. Ooh, man, Dylan, you be careful with this one, my friend. If they ask for a discount, ask them to just some extra. Yeah. So here's the problem, man. This is one thing that I really hope contractors and I don't think this is what you're saying, but I've been in many conversations with contractors over the years. I'm gonna just wet my whistle here a little bit. I've been in some pretty disheartening conversations with people say, "Oh yeah, I offer a discount," and then I just charge more. Um, I would say contracting has a bad name for this sort of thing, right? And if you were the client, I would just say, "What would you think about that?" Right? If I was gonna get a deck built onto my house and they were offering a spring 10% off deal, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is great. I'm gonna do this anyway. Give me 10% off." If you heard through the grapevine that somebody's like, "Oh yeah, on those jobs, we always just mark them up 15%, they give 10%." I would feel completely taken advantage, right? I would feel absolutely taken advantage of, and I would think very poorly of that contractor as well too. So that's another reason why I just stay away from discounts because the client, even in the end, if you give them a discount, if they walk away thinking, "Well, you just marked your price up anyway," and you actually give them a true discount, guess what? You're just mean anything, and in fact, you look like a crook now. So there's just I can't prove with the discount that anyway, and I don't like running a nonprofit business. If we run a profitable business, we can give back 50, 60 grand a year in big chunks in December and January. If we're a nonprofit business, guess what? Nobody gets any charity, and I cease to exist, and then jobs aren't even created. So, yeah. Yep. Splash painting, isn't that used in the car business model? Why do you think contractors and used car dealers have a bad name about this stuff, right? Because they're bamboozled, right? So that's just kinda how it works. So, okay, I'm gonna go through the last 3 that I collected from, Facebook right before the show. Jill Christine, how would you go about painting an old metal corn crib? What would the prep be and what product would you recommend? So Metal corn crib, we have a lot of those up here. They can either be like corrugated, they can be expanded metal, they can be sheet metal, things like that. Either way, for agricultural or industrial metal, I love a good painting question too, by the way. For one of those things, I would pressure wash with a turbo nozzle to remove as much dust, dirt, failed coatings, failed galvanization, things like that. And then there's a couple choices you can do. There's the quick and dirty stuff where you test out duration on it, and if it sticks and perfect, do a two coat system. Typically, what we offer our clients is a two coat system and a three coat system. And a three coat system is typically industrial products. A two coat is just premium exterior house paint. And we really want to give clients some options because like pole buildings and corn cribs, they can use a lot of paint. They can be expensive. Like to paint a big pole building could be 30, $40,000, 50, $60,000. And you could rifle through 80, 120 gallons of paint. It's super expensive. It's not a quick paint job. So typically what I like to do is say, listen, we can do a two coat process or a three coat process. Two coats, I almost always try to do two coats of duration, which on metal buildings, in my past experience, it's stuck really well and it's held up really, really well. If duration doesn't work, stick after the adhesion test, typically what I'll do is like one coat of bonding primer, like a DT bonding primer, water-based bonding primer, something like that, and then we'll go to duration. If it's just completely rusted out, galvanized, things like that, and they really want to paint it, I'll typically go to like a Sherwin-Williams Chemchromic or the equivalent of that, in industrial minimal prep rusty surface primer. It's made to go over like surface rust and stuff like that and encapsulate it and then paint over the top. If we go with our eh, full three coat industrial system, it'll either be DTM bonding primer, Chemchromic, it'll be Surecryl bonding primer, something like that, and possibly even Surecryl HPA over the top of it. Or you can do DTM, you can do all that other stuff. But like the Cadillac, I would consider is the equivalent of like Surecryl HPA with appropriate primer underneath. I've done buildings with that like 10 years ago. Those suckers still look good. No fading, no chalking, nothing like that. It's just amazing product. So yeah, one of those. Jill, I hope that helps out. Tom Schuster, to keep up with the theme of the day, what's the benefits of going green, changes in product usage to VOC compliancy? So it's always good to research this stuff because it's coming our way, and Minnesota is the third coast. Like what happens in California and happens in New York and Boston typically will then happen in Minnesota and then spread the rest of the world. So we're already seeing laws clamp down on VOCs. I feel like they did a really big job in the 90s. They're doing a little more now. There's probably going to be another push in the next 10 to 20 years, and solvent-based paints will probably go for quartz or industrial purposes or epoxy flooring or things like that. But what will happen is it'll be good. Push water-based coating science to go even farther, and it'll adopt that throughout the industry. And there's really only two main things, three main things we use in the company now is our oil primer for trim cabinets, or deck stain, and well, oh, like oil stains and varnishes and stuff. But we don't do that much stain and varnish work anymore. So um, it wouldn't be that hard to switch right now to all water-based stuff. The thing is, even if you get away from solvents, you still make waste as a company. And with all water-based, eco-friendly paints, you still have a lot of slop, right? So you clean out a sprayer and you have a couple gallons of water that's not that bad, but it's still got paint in it and stuff like that, maybe stuff like that. And um, you're still gonna make a bunch of that stuff. So we have, eco wash tanks in our, facility that get, recycled once a month by a company. We also have this coagulant, I think it's from Outpack Solutions. We get it through Sherwin-Williams. It's a powder that we mix in with slop that renders it inert and coagulates it, and then we dispose of it properly. So, it's a really good thing. I would absolutely love to go to a water-based primer. We use a ton of oil primer. I would love to go to for the safety of our people, for everything else, but god dang it, it just sticks to everything. It stops all the bleeding. It is so good. It is just so good. So, all right, Jorge Diaz Pineda, good morning. What about market price standards for good, medium, and best craftspeople in the market per state cost of living? All right, so here's the deal. Um, this is something we could actually do that, and then I'll probably just call it. We've been going for over an hour. Here's what I know from traveling the country. We're talking about W-2 painters, rate of pay, experience, and then possibly cost of living, right? We'll instead of talking about very specific locations, I'll talk about lower cost and higher cost. So you take a place like St. Louis, Missouri, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North and South Dakota, Idaho, Wyoming, possibly even Ohio, Kentucky, Illinois, things like that. You're talking a big chunk of the Midwest, maybe even some of the South, right? You might even be looking at Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, definitely. Um, Georgia, North and South Carolina, although some parts of North and South Carolina as the coast are pretty high, maybe even Florida. But then there's kind of like the West Coast and the East Coast. And then there's the parts of Canada that are real expensive. So let's talk about like the low cost versus the high cost. Here's what I know in low cost areas. Let's break it down between three types of W-2 painters. Brand new apprentice, no experience, or even just a little experience. I find that some people pay alarmingly low. I mean, there's people that start their people at 12, 13, 14, 15 bucks an hour across the country. Now, that may work and that may be fine, but if we really do want to attract talent, I think we should invest a little more in our people if we can afford it. In my company, I start all my full-time people off at 20 bucks an hour, health insurance, retirement, 4-day work week, PTO, all that other stuff, and offer them 4 $1 an hour raises a year. So theoretically, they could go in 1 year from 20 to 24. Um, Average of low cost states is somewhere between 15 and 18 bucks for a starting person. That's why I like to position myself as 20 because I really want to set myself apart, and I do love investing in humans. A an okay painter who can work semi-autonomously, we're probably looking at that in my area, your 20 to 25, and an experienced painter that can self-manage and do some things, probably 25 to 30, 25 to 31, 25 to 32, right in there. There's pockets where I find people pay 35, 38, 40 bucks an hour, but typically what it is somebody who doesn't understand how much that actually costs, and they're not tracking that person's performance, and the painter isn't typically producing that. Now, there are people that are definitely worth that, but in the low cost areas, the buckets would be you're 15 to 20 to start, you're 20 to 25 for a fairly okay competent painter who can sort of self-manage, and you're 25 to 30 for somebody who can, self-manage, be consistent, things like that. Certainly want to leave room for outliers in that, and we do in my company. If you're looking at higher cost, you're probably going to have to start around, your 25, and there's an okay painter, 25 to 30, and you're really going to have to go 30 to 35, maybe even north of that if you're in the heart of Boston, the Bay Area, like that, possibly even higher, right? But there are times where you'd be like, oh my God, I know this remodeling company. They got in-house painters are paying them $48 an hour. I will say this: they are not a painting company, and they're paying that person to solve the problem for them, and they're probably not making any money. They could even be losing money on the painting so that they can make money on the remodeling. You have to understand what a $40 an hour painter, $1,000 a year person, and if you throw in a 25 percent burden on that person, the taxes you have to pay, you're getting close to paying a painter $100,000 a year. And if we have to keep labor to 40% in order to keep these businesses rolling. So, a simple math problem will tell you that if you have a painter who is $100,000 divided by 40%, they got to be producing 250,000 painters a year. There are almost no individuals that can produce $250,000 of paintwork of revenue per year consistently without hand holding and things like that. So you just have to be really conscious of that, and that's fine. In my company, it's very likely when you look at a lot of my people, we pay a lot of money for our people, right? But I believe that I really want to remove all excuses from the boss end. I set my standards really high. I give my people a lot of empathy, but in return, I also want to offer them a big carrot out in front of them, which is I'm not going to ride you like a dog. I'm not going to be a bad boss. I'm not going to grind you to a pulp and not offer anything in return, right? I'm going to offer a lot of money, a lot of benefits, a lot of empathy, but also you're dealing with me. I have high standards. I'm not putting my name on just any job or any experience, and we got to standards. So, all right, everybody. Kevin Wooten, good to see you, my friend. I'm hitting the hay pretty soon here too. Thank you very much, everybody. I think we're going to call it quits for tonight. You guys are awesome. I do appreciate you guys. Join me in the PCA. Join me in my master's classes. We'll see you around at events this year. And if you get a call from me to serve as a servant leader for the PCA on one of the committees, now's your time. Get in here while the getting's good, folks. So, all right, everybody. I appreciate you all, and we will see you guys